we're going to start with our adductor assessment for Unit 8. We're going to do our CAM assessment. In neutral, I'm going to have Wes internally rotate and externally rotate. Abduct 30 degrees, internally rotate, externally rotate. Hip flex with abduction, internally rotate and externally rotate, all actively. 30 degrees hip flexion, internal rotation, external rotation. Cross midline, we're going to go internal rotation actively, external rotation actively. Do a comparison bilaterally, of course, to make sure where his restriction is. When we're doing, starting our testing for adductor magnus with the oblique fibers, I'm going to have Wes actively externally rotate, actively adduct his right leg. I'm going to keep him in that position and then hold, relax, and hold. Assess for weakness, we'll go right sideline, top leg across, palpate for ischial tuberosity, drop medially to that, off the ischial tuberosity, and then come down middle third, linea aspera on the femur, and cross. And then we'll go back to supine retest. Again, active external rotation, active adduction across the midline. Again, hold and hold. For our picks, I'm going to have Wes actively externally rotate. I'm going to hold him there, cross into adduction, relax first, Wes. Okay, and then fire into my hand. I'm going to block that motion, taking him into resisted adduction, external rotation. We're going to hold 6 seconds for 6 contractions at a 10% contraction. We're going to repeat that 6 times. For adductor magnus vertical fibers, I'm going to have Wes actively internal rotate, okay, legs straight, internal rotation, knees extended, and through his hip, he's going to extend his hip with resistance and hold. He's a little limited in internal rotation, but have an internal rotated leg. We're going to go right sideline. Come off ischial tuberosity medially. Okay. And then we're going to come down, find his medial joint line, drop proximal to that off the adductor tubercle. Our defamats into that distal third as well of the linea aspera. Then we'll retest. So active internal rotation and through the hip into hip extension, retest. Okay. For our picks, we're going to do 6 contractions times 6 seconds for a 10% contraction. So active internal rotation. Relax a minute here, Wes. Now push into my hand gently. 3, 2, 1. Again, repeat 6 times. Okay, so next we'll go with adductor longus. We'll treat again his right side. I'm gonna have him, we're gonna take this leg away. We'll flex and then externally rotate, cross midline, and then I'm gonna hold Wes. Here, I'm gonna have him hold and hold. Good. Assess for weakness there. For our defamats, I'm gonna have getting in off pubic tubercle. Pull in on me here, Linnet West. Find adductor longus. His pigs, he loves that. And then come into that middle third of the linea aspera. And do our defamat there. Okay. To retest, again, both legs are flexed. This one's out of the way. I'm going to externally rotate here. Relax a second, and then hold. Making sure he stays in external rotation, stays across into adduction, and hold. Okay. For our picks, relax here a minute, Wes. And then what I want you to do, hold for 6 seconds, 10%. Just meet that. That's good. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Done. Repeat 6 of those. 6 second holds, 10% contraction as always. Okay, so then we've got adductor brevis, which we're going to take into internal rotation. We're going to go hip flexion and adduction, okay? Hold right there. And then we're going to take him across into forced adduction. So I'm taking him into an abduction moment and slight extension. Hold, keep that internal rotation, and relax. Again, flex, hold here. So brevis is a little deep to the longus, so come up into the pubic tubercle, a little beneath adductor longus, to our diaphragm, into that pectineal line on the femur, proximal third, to our diaphragm there. Retest with internal rotation, hip flexion, across into adduction, and hold. Good. For our picks, we're going to maintain that across the midline internal rotation, and for 6 seconds, hold, hold, 3, 2, 1, done. Do 6 of those, 6 seconds, okay? So we've got pectineus to do next. Pectineus, similar to brevis, we're going to have flexed but externally rotated across the midline, and then hold. We're coming into forced adduction and slight extension. Hold there again, hold. Good. So with pectineus, we're coming out a little bit further lateral on the pubic ramus from the brevis and longus. So here's longus here. Again, and then that pectineal line. Retest. Hip flexed, externally rotated, adduction last, and then hold. So for our picks, maintain that position, relax there a minute, Wes. Okay, now hold, push in, 6 seconds, 6 contractions, 10%, repeat 6 times. I think the last one I have is gracilis. So gracilis, we're going to be internally rotated, adducted, okay? And then I'm going to hold here, taking him into abduction, so forced adduction. Hold. Good. So for our picks here, or my diaphragm, we're coming in, we're medial off that pubic tubercle. And then we'll come down into the pes anserine, kind of more posteriorly, and do our picks there, or our diaphragms. For our picks, again, internal rotation, cross midline, hold that right there, Wes, hold, hold. For our picks, have them relax, actively internal rotate first, Wes, keep across into adduction, relax a minute, now contract into my hand, hold, 6 seconds, 6 times, 10% for our picks for gracilis. I don't think I missed any.
No,